Topic of the day, breaking the school to prison pipeline, only on the P.R.E.S.S Podcast. Let's go. This episode of the P.R.E.S.S is sponsored by the e-firm Don't Let Your Loved Ones Become an American Prisoner. Visit us at efirm.org.
Welcome to the P.R.E.S.S, the P.R.E.S.S Prison Release Education Sanity Series. We discuss things from religion to politics to education to miseducation, mass incarceration, and overall how to release yourself from the incarceration of the mind. And with that only, that's possible through education, and that's proper education we speak of. Today I got my guest, Miss Shirley Gore, up here, and she's a long-term friend of mine from high school. We go way back. Yeah. Recently I ran into Shirley, and Shirley does a lot with her time and her energy as far as producing books. So I wanted to give her a chance to come on the podcast and express some of her views and some of her reasons for writing these books and trying to reach out to the youth. Because as you know, I have the 757 book club where I actually try to get authors involved to get them inspired to even do more with their writing than what they may be previously doing or what they may have done in the past. Mm-hmm. And one of the means of doing that is actually giving them a chance to speak out on the press about their intent for the community and when they write and what is, because I don't really promote the Donna Goins books, the things like the Iceberg Slim. I believe in giving them some that's actually going to inspire them to become philanthropists, humanitarians, entrepreneurs, yes. Things that really count in this society, such as engineers and things of that nature, anything to inspire them to greatness. We did enough of being demoralized mentally to the point where we move with no morals in this society and getting judged, as myself, a black man, in many cases have been labeled the aggressor. And I speak for many people that's been in those shoes as well as myself, but that's another story because we're not up here pressed to get stuck on racism and things of that nature, which we do discuss racism. But for now, I want to give my guest, Miss Shirley Gore, a chance to introduce herself for herself. Go ahead.
Thank you, Amar. So good to see you. I am Shirley Gore from the 757 Suffolk. We went to Nansemond River High School together. I am back in the 757 area, pouring back into the students, pouring back into the school system that poured into me. And so I've been out. I worked for Disney for 10 years in The Lion King as Nala. I've done gospel tours over Italy, Germany, and Spain. And the one thing that I wanted to bring back to the 757 is just helping children deal with their fear. I didn't do a lot of stuff because I just was afraid, whether I was afraid if people was going to like me in high school, if I was wearing the right shoes, all of those things. And so just coming back to the 757 and helping these students dismantle some of their beliefs of what has been embedded in them. And some of it is generational curses. My mama was afraid. My mama's mama was afraid. So it's learned behavior. So it's just coming back and letting these little black and brown girls know that you can be from Suffolk and you can also be a Disney princess at the same time.
Facts. I like that. It's inspiring.
Absolutely.
Inspiration.
Absolutely.
I always talk about that's an important word, that inspiration. Most people are not inspired, and that's why a lot of times they keep these talents in them that can actually change the world hidden and dormant, and they don't really get a chance to express those talents because of the fact that the knowledge of awakening and developing those talents have really been suppressed with the suppression of the knowledge of the spirit.
Correct.
So that word inspiration, it's got spirit all in it.
Yes,
I
it
like
means
that
to be
you
in
said
spirit.
that. Inspiration.
Yes.
That's
to
right.
be inspired means to be in spirit.
That's right.
Something, there's a spirit that the Bible says, stir up that gift of God that is within you. It's a spirit that's in you through that gift. And so if you're not around the right people that's telling you the right things, like you said, it's going to lay dormant. But there's always something, whether it's at 78, 16, 58, that's going to inspire you, that's going to spark that thing in you to say, wait a minute, I remember when I was 12 and I wanted to do videography. Well, I want to get back into that. And so this program is literally going into the schools and saying, listen, let's find your purpose at 10. So when you get to high school and somebody tells you they don't think you're cute, but in actuality it's a projection, right? Because that's what most of that stuff is, a projection. You are already sold out on who you know you are, and nobody can shake you from that.
And you're right. And a lot of people, they get sold out on who they think they are because they don't know who they are.
Correct.
Knowledge of self is so important.
Yes.
And I try to stress to people the fact that you really have to be engaged in learning yourself.
Yes.
Because knowledge of self is one of the most important knowledges you can ever have in life. Having knowledge of self is having knowledge of your self-image.
Yes.
Having knowledge of your mind.
Correct.
A lot of people don't know their mind. It's just existing.
Correct.
A lot of people don't have knowledge of their spirit.
Correct.
It's just something that they say exists.
Correct.
Or they have faith in the spirit. But it's one thing to have faith in it, but do you know it?
Correct.
Because faith is having complete belief.
Correct.
And total belief in something that's going to take place. But to know something, when you know it, you say, I know that. You don't say, I think.
Correct.
You say, oh, I know that.
Correct.
And you don't say I think, which is a symbol of someone being sure of something.
Correct.
And that surety comes with actually being educated properly, being exposed to the proper things that you need in order to bring out that life and not constantly rotating that death cycle. So what's the name of this book?
Well, there's several. It's called Doing It Afraid.
Okay.
It's a journal, and it's basically called Doing It Afraid: My Journey Towards a Fearless Life. And the first page is just giving them a definition of what fear is. We don't even know what fear is. And then through the journal, we are giving them words to put to fear and not just flipping a table, right? What are you afraid of? What's going on at home that you are afraid of, that wherein you have to bring that energy into the school system and just express yourself? And some of it could be just as simple as, I'm afraid of where my next meal is going to come from. So I'm not going to eat. I'm gonna put my lunch in my book bag because I don't know what my brothers and sisters are gonna eat later on, and I'm afraid somebody's gonna see me put that in my book bag. So let me cut up. Or I don't want to go to class today because I don't have my homework. So let me cut up so the teacher can escort me out, so I don't even have to attempt to turn my homework in. So just allowing these children to have wraparound services and the things that we did not have, right? But you remember homeschool, like homeroom, when you would go to homeroom. And I remember as a child going into homeroom, that teacher was going to grease your face down. That teacher was going to make sure your shoes were on the right foot. We don't have that anymore. So if we can get back into homeroom, which is where we can triage that student. Did you do your homework? Are you hungry? Did you sleep last night? And keep them in that homeroom for as long as they need to stay. And then once we have checked off that they ate, they slept, homework, now they are ready. Because just because they left the house don't mean they're ready. They're leaving the house because mama is saying, I'm going to work, get dressed now. Everybody's leaving when I'm leaving. So if we have a mother, So if we have a mom meeting them in their homeroom to say, are you okay today? Are you ready for class? And then we send them to class when they're ready.
And moms need support doing that.
Absolutely.
I totally advocate that for children. You know, even fathers, they need support doing it.
Correct.
Whether it's a mom or a father. And I have to say that because right now, the fathers in a lot of cases are being totally annihilated. They only good for child support, but they ain't good for no support for the child.
Right.
And I see that in a lot of cases. But I think that it's very relevant when you refer to a child not being able to eat in lunch because they're packing their lunch. That's heartbreaking because that is a real scenario in the communities.
Correct.
And that's the result of poverty.
Correct.
And that poverty is also a result of a lot of criminal, mentally developed children that wouldn't think criminal if they had proper food to eat, because they wouldn't go so hard in the wrong lane at first sight if they had something to sustain and to learn something different as far as generating income to provide a proper meal and things of that nature. So that's a good thing. I commend you for doing that. I might even have to bring you on my bus and let you travel with me to some of these schools.
I would love to.
Because one of the things we're doing with the museum project is we're making this tour virtual, where we're actually able to bring the tour to the school on this bus. We have the E.F.E.R.M virtual tour bus, where we'll bring all of these students from the in-school suspension classes, whether they've been in there 2 weeks before we get there or not. We go to each school twice a month. We bring the kids on the bus, set them in the chairs, let them to get the virtual tour, and then we do like a workshop class with them in the process of them doing that tour. Whether we had to go back into school and do it in the auditorium, we take all the kids that's been in school suspension and actually do this workshop for them after they view the bus tour and whatnot. And the bus tour is a good tour because it's not actually being at the museum, but it's actually giving them a chance to break out of those thoughts about developing that pipeline that actually connects that school to prison. See, a lot of people talk about the school to prison pipeline, yet they don't define the pipeline. The pipe is not just a metal pipe. It is. It's not just a metal pipe.
There it is.
That pipeline you talking about, it's made up of something. It's made up of disengaged parents. Where you saying they don't get their homework.
Correct.
See, everything you're saying is dynamics that creates and manifests that pipeline into a reality.
Correct.
Most people can identify what a school is. They can identify what a prison is. But when you say that pipeline, it's just talk. School to prison pipeline got to be stopped. I say, what's the pipeline? The pipeline, disengaged parenting.
Hungry students.
Hungry students. Disengaged staff.
Yep.
Students that's getting no homework because of this disengagement. Burnt out teachers. Misdiagnosis in mental health. In order to you diagnose them, next thing you're doing, you medicate them and you're seeking funds for it. Because you know you're going to get paid more in that district for these misdiagnoses. So, and there's a lot of cases of misdiagnosis. Because I tell you straight up, when we look at all these mental health disorders or any disorders for that matter, whether you're dealing with it ain't just autism.
Right.
You could be dealing with a child that's emotionally disturbed.
Correct.
And that emotionally disturbed child is basically suffering from depression or anxiety or some form of bipolar that can really be addressed with proper intervention.
Correct.
And it's these small programs like this that creates a more controlled tempered child than a child that's out of control temper, that can't be taught nothing, can't comprehend nothing because they're dealing with those imbalances in emotions. Some of those imbalances are coming from what you said. You can't eat. So you're going to pack your lunch. Right then, a child mind is taken outside of learning. Their mind is taken into survival mode for the moment. So whatever is being taught in the moment, after they pack that lunch or before they pack their lunch, 9 times out of 10 is not being comprehended. It's going over their head because their mind, their body is there, but their mind not there. They're emotionally disturbed. And see, that has it, and it's good. I think it's good. And there's more when we talk about the disorders. We could go into a lot of them. We could go into the specific learning disorders, the intellectually disturbed child, all the way from the impairments of a child that's dealing with hearing impairment or visual impairments. They're all bundled up in the same schools in most cases. And a lot of these children not even diagnosed, and when they are diagnosed, most of them are misdiagnosed in many cases. And that misdiagnosis is done without care, without empathy, and done based on someone just trying to say, I need to mark this off so I could get paid.
And that brands the child for the rest of their lives. They are branded as that he needed an IEP in school. So that's going to go with him the rest of the way. And then once he gets into high school, because he has been branded as that already, nobody wants to be branded as that, especially going into high school. So he feels as though he has to be the baddest person in that high school so they don't know what's really happening in the classroom. You know what I mean? And so how can I deflect this off of what's really going on? I can flip these tables. I can fight. I can be dating 3 or 4 of the same girls to keep the attention off of what's really happening.
A lot of that is the emotionally disturbed child. And see, right then, what you're saying is so relevant because a lot of these, if you look up the definition of an emotionally disturbed disorder, you'll find that these children, they don't test well. And it's a reason why they don't test well. And some of it is not because they don't want to learn. And it's not because they can't learn. The environment is not always conducive to learning. And so what happened, even in my case, I can go back and say that I didn't get diagnosed as an emotionally disturbed child, but I know throughout some of those things you mentioned, I can relate to directly going through evidence of living that life, dating the multiple girls in high school, not testing well, not because I couldn't do the test. I didn't care to do the test. That's being emotionally stirred, that not caring.
Yeah.
That just giving up. But that don't mean you need to be medicated all the time.
Correct. Because at that time, what you're looking for is reciprocity.
Right.
So if this school doesn't care about me, why should I care about the testing to put this school on the map?
And this material that you're speaking of, that material, I write curriculums with terminal objectives.
Yes.
One of my favorite ones is my school called Life Curriculum. Because they teach a kid a child that, hey, my learning never stops.
Yes.
My school is called life.
Yes.
I have to learn anywhere I'm at in life. And everywhere I go in life, I am learning, whether I'm paying attention to what I'm gaining as a learning or not.
Correct.
I'm picking up information. So these programs, like you're mentioning, they're necessary for these public schools.
Yes.
They're necessary for these private schools.
Yes.
Because they give children that other boost of energy that they're not going to find based on the everyday overall general educational platform.
Yep.
I look at this core education standard that they're using now, core communication standard of learning that they're using to teach children.
Right.
Most parents, like you said, the homework not being accomplished. When these children coming home, parents from me and your generation, they don't understand their math.
Right.
They don't understand that math.
Yep.
The math has been so, and a lot of this is because states was giving money to accept the core education standards in order to teach these children, and saying that they wouldn't fall behind, that saying that they would catch up instead of continuously falling behind. But the reality is the education gap became wider and the children fell behind even more with the core education standard. They fell behind more because these parents from the generation ahead of them wasn't taught that core way of math. When them children brought that third grade math on, they would say, what are you learning? What are you doing? It's so much easier to learn it than this.
Yes.
And there was no real counseling and basically structured program to really help them learn how to relate to their children when their children came home with that mouth. They was caught off guard with it. So the children got put behind. I, for one, took notice of this 3 years ago when my child, my daughter, brung home her math. And I was like, hold up. This math is taught way easier than this. And I was showing her easier ways to learn this math. And she was picking it up. Yet, when she got back to school, the teacher didn't go to teaching her the way I was teaching her. So whatever I was teaching her at home was being basically battered and dismantled by what she was getting in the school. So it's like somewhere we have to meet on equal ground to see what's more beneficial for these children. Because a lot of these parents that's not in the school, they have real solutions. Like yourself, you have a solution for children to not be afraid. And to understand that you're not the only one going through these emotional, confused desires or aspirations that's basically sending you to the left. You know, you got a way of doing that. That right there, and I'm saying that because I kind of breezed through it. When we sat down for coffee, I breezed through your literature. And that made me want to give you a voice to on this platform to really express what it is you have for them. You know, because I'm gonna connect with you on other levels and try to get you involved more with educating these kids out of these criminal mindsets, as I tend to do with my projects.
They just need advocacy.
That's what they need.
They need us to stand in the gap for them, Amar, and say, absolutely not. This is crazy. Why would you take this home? If he didn't get it in class and you challenge him to take it home, and the mother is burnt out because of what work-life balance is right now. So then that, from what's happening in the school, it creates dissension in the home because the parent is confused. The parent is frustrated that she still ain't cooked dinner. He's frustrated, and now he's going to bed fearful so that he ain't got no sleep because he knows he has to get up in the morning and turn this in front of his homeboys, and he still ain't got it right. So it's like it starts at the crib. And then it goes from the mother to the child to the teacher, and then the teacher is burnt out of spending 8 more minutes on this one child that told her when he left he didn't get it.
Right.
But the teacher doesn't have the bandwidth to sit with him and say, okay, Bobby, what about this? Because a lot of these, because of what the phones, these students are hands-on learners. I'm a hands-on learner. I need you to sit me down, turn to page 4, turn to page 20, and this says, you are fearless. Now read this and tell me what this says.
Right.
But they're not leaning into that because they did a lot of the learning virtually. They're still implementing that. And so the teacher has become lax. All of this is like muscle memory. And so the teacher has become lax. But they're pushing more into what they want the schools to do because they're back from COVID. So it's like push. I don't care. I worked in a charter school and it was like, they need to make 80% on these tests. And I'm like, but they can't read.
Right.
And they're like, read it to them. So as a teacher, so my colleague that's teaching 3rd grade, I'm pushing her student that can't read. And so she's going to have to deal with it in 3rd grade because they just wanted me to push that student through. And now this student has to deal with the fear of when all the other 3rd graders are reading, Tommy went to the bus and blah, 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 blah. Now she is cutting up in class. And I'm talking, they're calling my classroom saying, and I need reinforcement. She is flipping these desks. And it's all because she didn't read in the grade that they passed her from.
Right. And see, this is all part of what's leading up to this massive internal conflict within this country. Everything you're saying, it has a root.
Yes.
It has a root, and as it grows, it's all why we have what we see right there in this country as a massive internal conflict, which is leading straight to a revolutionary war.
Yes, and this revolution will be televised.
Yeah, it's leading straight to a revolutionary war.
Absolutely.
See, once you have a inequality gap, see, I wrote something down, you just said work-life balance. For that work-life balance that the parent don't have to get involved with this child.
Yep.
That's because, especially in our community, you got to realize, in 2019 alone, and it's got worse, there was a household gap between blacks and whites of over $850,000 per household.
Wow.
And a lot of that is because things haven't been addressed, such as reparations.
Yep.
And a lot of people want to say, well, reparations don't matter. I'm like, yes, they do. Reparations right now is about $14 trillion into the black community.
Right.
That can be used to properly establish a work-life balance.
Which some of the pressure off of the parent to be everything.
And see, and see, a lot of people don't want to talk about the inequality gap and why it's so big. And because they don't know the history of it. A lot of people don't even understand the Homestead Act of 1860s. When that Homestead Act allowed European immigrants to come over to this country and actually get so much land.
Yeah.
Land grants just given to them. Yeah. These land grants created an economy for them. An economic advantage for them. Yeah. And at the same time when they was getting this, Andrew Johnson was pulling the 40 acres in him. He vetoed, he basically pulled away anything to talk about 40 acres in a mule for black people. He pulled it away. And I'm saying this too because you have black girls on that book. Yeah. On the cover of that book. Yeah. They pulled away all of that ability to create that work-life balance. Yeah. And there's a domino effect. And see, a lot of people don't look at this. Like up to now, for 124 years, over 45 million white families benefited from this Homestead Act of land grants being given in them for cheap. Whereas blacks that basically made this country off of their back didn't get paid. No. That's why I saw you recently online advocating for Kamala Harris. And I ain't knocking nobody for advocating for her. I ain't knocking nobody for advocating for Trump. I don't care who you advocate for. But what I do ask them is, when they get in that office, are you going to put some pressure on them to put in the proper things that need to be put in to kill a lot of the disparities we see amongst our communities that's basically causing this kid to pack up this lunch instead of eating their lunch. So they won't be hungry when they go to the next class and they can focus because their stomach ain't growling. So we have to, and I'm saying this because we have to address these issues not necessarily from the top down. We have to address these issues right in our homes, towns.
Absolutely.
Because it's in our families.
Absolutely.
In our community.
Absolutely.
Because the reality is this. Yeah, we have a constitution. But each state make their own laws.
Absolutely.
And unless some people in the community, in those states, unify and come together to actually address these issues, the Constitution doesn't even matter.
Right.
Because the states don't follow it.
Right.
Until people raise noise about it.
Right.
Each state make their own bills.
Correct.
That's outside of the general supreme law.
Right.
And so unless we unify and make enough
Noise,
demands,
ruckus, right.
That's right, for a change, it's nothing's gonna change. Because it's bigger than black and white. This stuff is about green dollars.
Yeah.
You have a black person to sell you out just as quick as a white person or an agent for the right amount of money.
Right.
So we have to get outside of that mentality and really have empathy for these conditions that you just spoke of.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to, because if we don't, guess what? We're a failing country.
Yeah.
It ain't just black people that's falling deeper and deeper into poverty. It's going to be whites and whoever else involved in this country that's falling to a revolutionary war.
Absolutely. That's why I think it's so important that we do these grassroots initiatives, right? Because ain't but so much as one entity, as one human being, right? Whether I vote for the right or for the left. You know, we say that one vote matters, every vote matters, right? But it's what's happening on the ground.
Right.
That I get to consume myself with.
Right.
Right. I can't consume myself with the Supreme Court because I just don't have enough pull, and I'm grounded and humble enough to know that me going on and marching on Washington as a singular entity
it's not so effective.
It's not as effective as me going through the back door of these schools. Right. And being like, I've made a change in Tommy's life, Bobby's life, Sarah's life, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
They get to go and take this change home to their parents.
Exactly.
Their parents then go to the superintendents of the school.
Exactly.
And that's how I'm able to make it infrastructural change, as opposed to spending my time trying to beat down the door, fussing and arguing with somebody where they have to go through five parts of the Republican Party and 5 parts to even get it on the floor to even be announced. Right. So I've learned that if I start, like you said, not from the top up, but from the bottom up, and get to the root, again, what you were talking about, how do we excavate this and get to the root of it and pluck these roots out and say, okay, so let's talk to these children about fear. Most of them are afraid of X, Y, and Z, which is completely dismantling that school to prison pipeline.
Right, it is.
And that's where we get them. Because if we stop from these babies going to prison, they won't have the money to. So if I got to go to Bobby and Tommy and stop them from going, then there's 2 less black bodies in these prisons. And that's the difference that I want to make.
That's
and
right.
if I need to get in politics, then so be it, right? But for right now, I want to start from the bottom up. So if that is a thing, right, then I know what I'm talking about from experience and not just
Right. Empirical evidence.
Correct.
Not just theoretic approaches to it. That's why I say, even when it comes to dismantling the criminal mind, I tell people all the time, I say, listen, I ain't knocking you for never going to prison. But guess what? I did. And the fact that I did, I understand what it was to be put on trial. I understand what it was to actually do the crimes that I did, incarcerated me, and actually caused me to do a decade of my life in prison, which basically gave me an understanding as I studied that behavior, how to get a person unrooted from that demonized, demoralized root that creates that behavior consistently and constantly.
Right.
Which is why I know you got something when you say the kid, you're aware that the kid can't eat.
Correct.
Okay, the child can't eat. What comes after that? That's one of the number one priorities on the hierarchy of needs. That's at the base. Maslow hierarchy of needs, food, clothing, shelter. Number one. If you don't have food, you can't sustain to your next day.
Right.
So if you don't have food, you can't even focus on the things within the that goes up in the hierarchy to actually get to self-actualization.
Correct. Which is what you need to focus on anything. So how can you know, as adults, right? They have commercials with adults saying, this is who you are before the Snickers and this is who you are after the Snickers, right? And as adults, we have free will, but when a child is in a school setting, their will is not so free. It's, well, I thought you ate breakfast already.
Right. It's a controlled environment.
Well, why didn't you know? And they were dinging me for spending my own money to put snacks into these children's bags because it made the other teachers look bad or the school system look bad because they weren't doing it. So they would have much rather no children get it so they didn't look bad, which is why these programs that you're doing, that's why they're so important right now. The need is great right now. I wish that these would have been around, or I would have come up with it during COVID, so we could have been sort of kind of saturating these children with what they need so they would be better equipped going back into these schools after COVID. But if you miss 2 years of school, you're behind.
Yes.
And they're not trying to catch you up. You are we were already behind what they were teaching in the schools. Like you said, the math. Your child brought the math home and it was German. And it's like you won't, and to realize that half of the things that they are teaching you will not use when you really need problem solving skills.
Right.
You need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to figure out what fear feels like in your body so you're not so hot-headed. You need to know how to go into it for a job interview. You need to know how to respect somebody. You need to know what to put on. They're not teaching any of that.
And the math can't be off. See these things like physics, chemistry, mathematics, these are all laws that have to be in harmony. See, we live in a universe.
Yes.
We don't live in a pluralverse.
Right.
We live in a universe.
Right.
The word unity and harmony are one and the same.
Yes.
Things have to be in alignment.
Correct.
If your math is off, then you can never ever shape the world into a structure that's able to stand. Meaning, like, you can't build a house on a weak foundation.
Right, if your math is
off. If
it's
mathematically incorrectly laid, then whatever you build on top of it is gonna crumble.
Correct.
And that's the same thing goes with the foundation of a person's mental development. If it's built on unstructured platform, meaning that it's just scattered. Whatever they're trying to build mentally, it's scattered.
Yeah.
It's like it's just all over the place. And there has to be some type of order that's put in place in order to assure that success. Not to, it's a possibility. No, to assure the success of that individual that's learning in that school. Because that assurity can be done.
Yes.
It can be done, but it won't be done if we ignore what the school system is liking. And part of what the school system is liking is the empirical evidence-based programs. Meaning those who have been through this, that identify with the actual mishaps that's going on, and not someone that's just following
policies and procedures.
That's basically someone's making total excuses about what you have to do to get around it. Like somewhere we got to implement with a different type of education, which is the purpose of the curriculums, the purpose of the books. Like my books, I write about some of everything. I write about entrepreneurship. I write about psychology. I write about mental health, basically, and how to basically make your mental more healthy.
Got you.
Not just talking about the bad parts of the mind, but talking about how to correct those bad portions of thinking and turning them into productive, positive things that influence you further in life. I mean, I came from everything you was just talking about these skipping class and having all them girlfriends. And when I was in high school, I had some problems. You know what I'm saying?
I know, friend.
Yeah. I came from my high school, almost about to graduate, to being charged with murder charges and being all over the news, being sent to Virginia State prisons, where basically nobody's seen Amar Skinner coming back to be a book author, coming back to own a museum, coming back to be an entrepreneur and own healthcare companies, coming back to write curriculums with terminal objectives to actually break children out of that box of unawareness that would cause them to become incarcerated slaves. Because that's all that prison is a slave camp. And I say that because they don't focus on correction. Most people in the system that you go right now, they'll tell you, most people in the system right now that's doing time, they'll tell you that they can't take trades as fast as they could 10 years ago. 10, 15 years ago when you was in prison, you could take a trade every time you graduated one trade. I got carpentry while I was in prison. I got electrician. I got plumbing. I had some HVAC experience. I received business software applications certification. Well, when I came home from prison, that business software application, that study that I did when I became knowledgeable of how to use Microsoft Word, this stuff gave me an advantage that I didn't even know I had on people that graduated with us. When I came out of prison, I was able to create my own marketing material. I was able to work Excel. I was able to work PowerPoint to create presentations to present things to certain people that I needed to not necessarily invest in me physically, but to just invest time and energy into believing what I had going on based on the presentations that I was presenting to them. So it's like now in prisons, before I left, you could get a trade every 5 years. If that rule was in play when I was in there, it came into play while I was in there, but by the time it came into play, I was already grinding. And even when they brung that into play, I still used to go over there to the trade schools and get, because I know all the teachers, I just go in there and take a trade and won't even worry about getting a certificate for it.
Just so you could have.
I just wanted to learn it because I always understood that power wasn't in the certificate. The power was in what I knew. Just having the knowledge, period. Because having the knowledge, I could easily create my own business by knowing entrepreneurship. All I had to do was know how to go online and fill out paperwork at the SCC. Know how to fill out the documents. Know how to go to the IRS and what I-9 forms to file versus what the forms you file for your EIN. I ain't getting it all to you. Come to my business class. But look, anyway, I'm going to act a little dumb up here today. Forget that. Y'all don't want to give me no money for nothing. Y'all just
don't
want
act
all
like
my
that,
knowledge.
friend.
Yeah, they want all my knowledge for free. Boy.
Free.
But for free. And I mean, I don't mind telling people what to do and how to make it, but at the same time, I have to, it take money to survive in a capitalistic society. And most people, they don't want to pay for the services that they really need. They only paying for the services that's being advocated to them based on a lot of people just getting funds and writing off saying, I taught you that. And really, they ain't taught you nothing. But the stuff you really need to learn, you're being blocked from that education. And I give a lot of it up for free. I just did a tour at the museum just now with 2 parents. And I did that for free. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get paid for that. I didn't even worry about no money for that. But I didn't, because I'm going to tell you another thing. Getting paid ain't always about green dollars. There's a bigger currency than just paper money. And people don't recognize, like, what you put out there come back to you. You know, so sometimes you have to know when to give away the freebies. I mean, when I was selling dope in the streets, I gave away free dope to let somebody know I had the best dope. Because I knew if they hit it, they were going to go around the neighborhood and tell everybody, man, that dope good, that boy got. And they were coming back and buy all that dope from me. So now I got some good education. Let me get some other way for free.
Yes.
So that you would see that, oh, this is effective. These children need to learn this, and I need to get some in there. But guess what? It's going to cost me a little bit, but I know it's worth the cost because it's good. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you learn as you go through life that a lot of the things that we're doing just on an everyday basis is really we have entrepreneurship skills.
Correct.
And that's what made me want to produce a museum called the X-Family Entrepreneurship Retail Museum. Because these children can know you're not just a drug dealer. You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
You're practicing entrepreneurship skills right now.
Yes.
You don't have to just be a robber.
Right.
You know how much scheming you do before you rob somebody trying not to get caught?
Yeah, that takes skill.
Can you imagine if
precision.
you use those precision skills?
Yes.
That's right. And it takes consistent focus not to get caught.
Correct. That takes math.
Right. And so if you learn that you're already exercising these skills of entrepreneurship, you'll practice better with your talents.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't know that their talents, it's a faculty of the spirit. It's not just something of, and everybody don't get it twisted. Everybody say it's me until they don't want to claim it.
Right, that part.
When they don't want to claim it,
right.
When they want to claim it, is me, myself, and I. Is myself, is selfishness, is this, is that. But when they do something bad, that wasn't them.
It was the devil.
That was the devil. That wasn't me. And see, there's a reason for that though. Because you're dealing with the self now.
Correct. Nobody wants to be held accountable.
The self. You got the spirit self.
Yeah.
You got put it this way, your DNA itself has instructions in it.
Correct.
All right? It don't need nobody to tell it what to do.
Right.
There's automatically, instinctively, it just happens.
Yes.
But then you got those things that's not of your conscious will. Everything of your conscious will is of yourself. You did that consciously. You willed that.
Yep.
But then when it's something that they don't like, you got to admit there's things that happen. You got them thoughts that you come up with and them thoughts that just come.
Yes.
But them thoughts that just come, there's a power in that.
Yeah.
There's a power because this is what's guiding these people's energy.
Correct.
It's their thoughts,
correct,
their words,
correct,
their ideals.
right.
This is what's guiding their energies. Their energy in them is their life force.
Correct.
The energy in your being, that's your life force. That's what's giving you that ability to emote, to put yourself in motion emotionally. So it's like, when I talk about knowledge of self, I tell people it's bigger than just being able to quote a few words off of a piece of paper. Because you have a lot of my 5% brothers, they be like, yo, got knowledge of self. And I'm like, yeah, you got knowledge of self. Okay, so what's knowledge of self to you? Some think it's just quoting 120 lessons. And I'm like, nah, that's not just knowledge of self. That's knowledge of a lot of history. Supreme wisdom lessons is not just having knowledge of self. Like knowledge of self is knowing yourself, being able to define your self-image, because a lot of people's self-image is defined to them by someone else.
Right.
They're
the school system.
Right. They're not making up that image and identifying with it. So their mind is being basically suggest to.
Yes.
They're not automatically suggesting anything on their own.
Correct.
And so it's a power in auto-suggesting though.
Correct.
When you're automatically suggesting things, there's a power in that. When you're in tune with your desire.
Correct.
In tune with your faith.
Correct.
In tune with your proper planning. Versus not being in tune with it and just moving on chance. Moving on chance. Not aware of anything that's going on. It's a power in being aware and being knowledgeable of that knowledge.
Right.
This is why you heard me say that the knowledge of the spirit in man has been suppressed. And a lot of people is suppressing it to the population because they don't want you to become a competitor.
Correct.
when you know that science, you're sure about what you can be successful in. It ain't no you might be successful. Your success is guaranteed because you become in tune with the forces that's leading you, the forces that's developing you. And these children need that understanding of these forces that's making up their life. Some of them need that other support too, because I keep going back to that child that's hungry. They may not be able to go get a job. They may not even be of age to go get a job to feed themselves. So they need that support from the adults. This is why we know we can't just have programs for the students. We need programs for the parents.
Absolutely.
Because the parents need to understand where they create the problems at themselves. A lot of times they're not doing it intentionally. They're just moving on what education they have about the circumstances. That's it. And it's like there's a huge gap in the economy where you got one parent able to sit home all day and not go to work. They made their money flowing in, and they ain't even retired yet. I'm one of those parents. I can sit home all day and just chill and get up when I'm ready. And when I get up, I'm studying. I got plenty of time to teach my children. But even in doing so, you still got to be on one accord, because it's not just a parent. It's parents. Mother and father. If my daughter's mom don't be on one accord with me with teaching my children, then guess what? There's a gap in me being able to educate them during all this spare time. Same thing on her part. So a lot of it start in the home. It's not just in the school. So, and I say that to say that it's not just the school that has to advocate this material. It's the parents that has to advocate it right within their home. That's right. When I say advocate, yes, implement. Demonstrate the existence of that what you say is needed. That what you know is needed. That what you learn about is needed. 'Cause a lot of them will say they don't know, but if you listening right now, you know. So connect. If you know, you connect. If you don't connect, then guess what? It's a form of staying disconnected. And if you're disconnected from something your child needs, you have to look at yourself.
Well, I think it's important, the concept of bringing it to the communities. Right? A lot of these parents, when they get home, that's it. I'm at 44. When I get home, that's it. I don't want to come back out for a parent-teacher conference. I don't want to come back out for PTA. And that's where a lot of the information is given. A lot of the policies and procedures are being discussed. And these parents that have the bandwidth to care are there making decisions on behalf of the parents that just don't have the resources or the bandwidth to come out and care. It doesn't mean that they don't. It just means that they don't have the correct support system to care and to implement that care. So it's important taking it to these underserved communities and partnering with these community buildings and saying, hey, I need to bring this programming into your community, and I know that this is right around the corner. These kids can walk here.
The leadership in some of these cities is just horrible. Like we look at the parents, true, and they do need that extra support of someone to reach out to them and give them the understanding of what they can do. No doubt. But when the leadership in some of these cities, and I say it's horrible because I look at the city of Suffolk and its leadership, and I know I've had that museum down there now for at least more than 3 years, actively open, and anybody could go online, schedule tours, that have their children tour through it. But here's my thing when I talk about the leadership. The mayor know about the museum. The city council know about the museum. It's no reason why they should get away with ignoring the fact that they could advocate for these parents. And I ain't just talking about the mayor and the city council. The religious leaders in Suffolk, Virginia know about the museum. Now, they'll say a million excuses about they only need Jesus. But faith without works is no good.
What do you think the root of the problem is?
I think the root of the problem is that most people that's in leadership, they only concerned about the spotlight. They're only concerned about making sure if they don't see themselves being able to benefit off of it directly themselves, they say forget what the children could learn out of it. If that's a form of selfishness. If you was concerned about the children, you wouldn't be so much worried about what you directly as an adult can benefit from that museum. Some people don't want that, they advocate for it, I think, because it don't give them all the votes they want.
Right.
But once I start doing the voting polls from there, and they see people registering to vote, a lot of things have changed. See, part of my hesitance to even have people come up there to register to vote, because I didn't want the phoniness. I didn't want the support that wasn't sincere. Because it's easy, you can rise up, but it's so easy to fall and be knocked back down. See, your fall is quicker than your rise.
Yeah.
And if you got the wrong people amongst you, you gonna fall.
Yeah. So
just a matter of time.
So there are systems in place that no matter who you are, especially us, you will not, it's so deeply rooted, then you just can't dismantle those systems. And that's through, through politics. There are systems that, which is why I'm like, okay, bet, I'll go through the back door. So if I talk to these kids, and the kid, again, talk to the children, get into, and it's also about building relationships, right?
It is.
I know, and it doesn't make me feel good to know this and to say this, but I know that in order for me to make the waves that I need to make, I'm going to have to step back and put someone else in certain rooms as the face and the brand of this product.
Right.
Because it's not about me.
Right.
It's about getting this product into the schools. So
Right.
I then have to put someone at the table that speaks their language, look how they look, dress how they dress, whatever I need to do by any means necessary to get this to the children, because my ego is involved. If I'm saying, hell no, I ain't going up there, he don't want to mess with me, I don't want to mess with him, that's my ego.
Yeah, that's your ego.
That's my ego saying I'm not going to do it because he won't let me.
And that's a blessing blocker.
Yes.
That I tell people, ego easing good out. You easing God out.
Yes.
EGO.
Yep.
Like that's the blocker. So yes, you definitely have to have forerunners.
Correct.
You have to have people that basically open doors for you in certain situations.
Correct.
Because some people not gonna want to deal with you just because of not always just your skin color, just because they think you might outshine them verbally.
Bingo. That's 89 to 90% of.
Yeah, they might. Yes. And see, my thing is when you ask me a question about what do I think the problem is. See, you got to realize what this museum represents. This museum says ex-felon entrepreneurship retail museum. When you're talking entrepreneurship, you have another entrepreneur that's in leadership that's asking themselves,
do I need to work this night?
No, do I need to let him teach these children over here to become entrepreneurs? And these children become entrepreneurs, they gonna own the car lots. They gonna own the other companies, the grocery stores. They gonna own everything I'm trying to make my child own. Everything that I want my children to own, they gonna own it. So, but in that mentality comes a disservice to the children. Because now you're setting the community up for failure, where you say, I'm gonna save these three because they mines. If I thought like that, I would have never created a entrepreneurship retail museum to teach. But see, what people don't understand, this entrepreneurship retail museum teach children not to come kill your children.
Right.
It's dismantling that discriminatory mentality.
Right.
Yeah, that discriminatory mentality where that child discriminate because you ain't in their game.
Right.
Because you ain't part of their community, and they come over there and kill your child. That's the result of you being selfish a lot of times and not pushing agendas that matter. Because this stuff has a domino effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to ask yourself, what kind of world am I leaving my children to if I don't advocate the proper things that they need to learn? And see, I don't want my children in a community around me where everybody's thinking like a criminal. And nobody's thinking with a heart to serve for the purpose of what need to be served. You know, people need real empathetic leadership. And the reality is we don't have that in these communities.
Correct.
The leadership is trash.
How do we become those leaders?
By doing what we're doing right now. We write these books, we
Yeah.
write these curriculums,
Yeah.
we put that education out there to the people.
Yeah.
We find the real empathetic people that's
Correct.
sincere,
Correct.
that want to advocate the change, that want to see these youth grow, that's more concerned about the youth than just their own self-image.
Correct.
That don't care if this kid over here become the entrepreneur just because they kid want to be an engineer.
Correct.
Or just because your kid want to work for the entrepreneur. That's a choice.
Yes.
We need the real empathetic leadership to take the stance. That's the only way we're gonna change the condition that we see right now, where we had a mass shooting in Suffolk, Virginia just recently. And my cousin was one of the ones who got killed.
Yeah.
You think I didn't think about that? They had this mass shooting in Suffolk where I know all these people that got shot.
Yeah.
And I seen these people do all this kind of like visuals with the mayor. I heard about it, rather,
Right.
after it took place. But think about it. I heard about all these visuals and they talk about this mass shooting after it took place.
There are no preventative measures.
Who called Amar Skinner, who speaks about mass shooting, who been in prison for gun violence, who now has a not a theoretical approach, but an empirical evidence-based curriculum about ceasing and dismantling gun violence, which ain't nothing but a criminal mentality, about dismantling the development of a criminal mind in the city of Suffolk. Nobody called Amar Skinner to speak to these youth, to speak to these families, even down to my family, to speak to these people about dismantling the mentality that caused gun violence. You know why? Because see, we got some very, very unintelligent people around us who's basically moving off of what you were just talking about. The ego.
Right.
The ego.
Right.
I want to be the one who...
Yeah.
No, you not the one.
Right. Right.
You not the one.
Right.
You not the one that's that influential where they gonna listen to you.
Right.
You get the one that's the most influential.
Yeah.
The one that they gonna respond to.
Right.
The one that they gonna listen to if you create the right platform for them to listen.
So the thing is about creating a platform. Because you are an entrepreneur and because you have all the gifts that you have, the drive, the knowledge, the data to back it up, it is important that you create your own lane.
Which is why you're on this podcast.
Exactly.
Right now.
This is us creating our own lane. So when you're not invited somewhere where you know you're supposed to be, I'm infamous for just showing up as my best self. Because if I show up, for example, I went to Women's March in Los Angeles, me and a homegirl of mine. Based off of my energy alone, some people there that were there organizing it gave me a highlighter vest and a bullhorn. Just based off of how I showed up. I ended up in the newspaper with my bullhorn in Los Angeles.
I can believe
Just
it.
because I showed up and was given, that's right, Women's March is, and they're giving you look like people would listen to you. Let me give you this bullhorn and this thing.
Right.
And I look up and there's people behind me just saying, who run the world? Girls, simply because I showed up. So it's important for us to show up because you already know why they're not inviting you. You already know that.
Right.
So you call your runners.
Twisted.
You call your people that you know gonna show up and say, we're going to implement this march.
Right. And see, that happened in Suffolk, Virginia. Like we did a gun violence march. And we showed up. But guess what?
What?
We put it together ourselves.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Not only did we put it together ourselves, we told the mayor about it, the mayor of Suffolk, Virginia about it. We let him know about it. But see, I'm going to tell you, Mike Dooman already know. He don't got to do nothing in Suffolk.
Yeah.
Mike Dooman already know he can go to half of these ministers in Suffolk and get them a few pennies and they satisfied. He know he can make a few little promises to a few of these little people around here, and ain't nothing got to be done about it. And these black people in Suffolk, whether they black or white, I'm gonna tell you like this. I speak about the black particularly because Mike Dooman went to someone's house recently and wanted to take a picture with them after a shooting had took place with somebody in their family. I think it was the most distasteful thing that could have been done. And I try to tell people, like, I don't hate Mike Dooman, but I look at Mike Dooman's actions. I look at how Mike Dooman is the basically chief officer of this city. He's the mayor. And any mayor of Suffolk, Virginia that ignore a museum that dismantles a criminal mindset, and because he's not going to tell me he don't know what it's about, because I went up there and saw him on the city council, him and all his other people that's up there with him, and I told them exactly what we was about.
You know what? Can I tell you what the problem is? Where I feel like the problem is? We like to be like, okay, I tried it this way. Okay, Nick, now I'm going to try it the same way. We have to try different tactics, right? And so if you went in there the first time, you can't go in there the second time.
I ain't going in there. I ain't been in there a second time. I ain't going back in there for what? Go ahead. I don't do that.
I get it. But if it is about the children of Suffolk, then you get to say, Beth Ann, you're going there on behalf of my museum.
I'll love to see somebody.
I'll see how Mike handles you, because it may be an ego thing with me and Mike, because you gonna pull the rug from up under him because you know the intricacies of how he's running his business, right? But if you pull Beth Ann and said, Beth Ann, go talk to your people,
right,
and bring me that check back, or bring me a signed contract back.
Yeah, because see, it's not a white or black thing for me, because I looked at the.
It's not about you. It's not about you.
I'm just talking about it's not a white or black thing, period.
Yes.
Because most of the people on city council at the time, they was black. It was just as many black was in there than it was whites.
But who's the head of the
Mike Dooman running that show.
Okay, so it does not matter.
Right.
If he is the head and the tail of the operation, if what's, like you said, what's creating that pipeline.
Yeah.
And so if the pipeline has more cream pipes than brown pipes, then you need to adhere to, just like we have to adhere to what's happening with the students via the pipeline and pay uber attention to. We need to pay attention to those Maslow's hierarchy of needs and not give them what we think they should have. And so we have to approach those other situations where we want to get into those rooms. How do I get into that room?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and
Okay.
you definitely have to address things according to how they need to be addressed.
Correct.
It can't just be your way.
Correct.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I'm totally for sending advocates into city council on my behalf,
Correct.
school boards on my behalf. However, I can't make the people get involved.
Correct.
I can't make them be involved.
Correct.
I'm not losing no food going in me that I need to buy from a restaurant or something because they not involved. So for me to go and fight with them, I can't do that. I keep an open door policy for any parents who want to come and become part of the museum project. They could go online right now and sign up to become part of this project. It's a matter of being serious as a parent before your child get in trouble. Because when they try to get in trouble, I done heard from a lot of them, do you know a lawyer? I got a big sign on the bus that say, pay for their education now or pay for their lawyers later.
Got it.
Every time they need a lawyer, you know any good lawyers. And it's kind of like, you have a slave mindset. Anytime you ignore education and wait till your child get in trouble, and now you want to talk to me about a lawyer, I know you have an issue mentally. Because when you identified that behavior that was leading your child to that direction, You didn't take it serious.
Who taught them to take it seriously, right? Who taught them, if they're coming from a specific demographic where crime...
Nobody's taught them to take it serious.
So that's what I'm saying. So you'd have to go back 10 generations because the slave mentality is not that far around the corner, right? So we are the generational curse breakers. We are the bloodline resetters. And so we get to say, okay, I understand you were not educated on this.
Right.
So let's sit down. I want to invite you in so when they call you about that lawyer, call them into the space. Come meet with me.
Oh, that's what
you know what I mean?
No. I don't have to call them into the space when they want that lawyer.
Space.
They find the space. Oh, don't get it twisted. They find the space. At that point, they read the signs well.
Right.
Ex-felon entrepreneurship, retail museum. Oh, that's that guy Amar they talking about that's up there. He know how to keep your child out of trouble. Your child done got in trouble already. I could keep your child out of trouble before they got in trouble. So it's like, I'm telling you, most people only respond to the tragedy. They don't respond to the ability to prevent the tragedy. So when we see that, this is why I try to stay as, just like what you said, I try to show up. I try to stay as active as possible. I'm human. Like, I have a life too.
Right.
But I try to stay as active as possible. And that's why even now, this is a step of me staying active, getting you up here so you can show them your material and show them that, hey, I'm here to help. I have an educational platform that can help serve some children to not be afraid to express themselves and to come out of that closet and be seen like they want to be seen.
Maybe your warm market is not your best market. Right, because in your warm market, people think they know you, right? And there comes who does he think he is?
True.
That's true. You know what I mean?
That's
and
true.
so what I'm saying is,
that's true.
I would like to suggest do a market analysis. Figure out where your programs are needed. Figure out where the folks are hungry for something like this.
Look, I ain't blaming it on nobody. I write business plans. I have done a market analysis on where crime prevention education is needed. I know I presented it. I'm still presenting. I have schedules right now of dates I have to meet.
Okay.
It's not at a standstill.
Yes.
But I'm not letting the city of Suffolk get away with what they're doing.
Yes.
I've been down there with this museum project for 3 to 4 years now.
Got it.
I've seen the response.
Got it.
If you can see me in privacy and praise this work, and this go for all the ministers that done did it. If you can see me in privacy and praise this work, he's been with me, he's seen it. But you can't praise it out in the public open and make sure them children you connected to come get this knowledge. You in the way.
Absolutely. Most of them are. I mean, you know,
and that's what I'm talking about.
I love God. You know what I mean? But I was sitting with Harry Belafonte before he passed, and they inducted him into the Jazz Hall of Fame in Birmingham, Alabama, and he met with preachers. And I was sitting in on that meeting, and he said they were there with pens and papers, and he said, I don't have anything to tell you outside of what you have been listening from Martin, from Sydney. We're all saying the same exact thing. So why are you here with pen and paper and I'm in my late 80s thinking I'm going to give you the solution when the solution was already given to you and you didn't do anything about it?
Right. And that's a fact. And how can you look at the parents and expect the parents to pick up on what's needed when they're being guided by a lot of these ministers who basically they're loyal to? They're being guided by them to seek what's right. And you won't tell them what's right. As a leader, you block out what's right because you want to keep that person under your wing and becoming a dictator of what they seek that you try to say is godly or not.
Yes.
When in all reality, you don't represent God.
Right.
You ain't represent God.
Right.
I was just talking about that with the parents that came to the museum 2 hours ago. They were saying, I had to leave this particular church in this city They go to a church in Newport News now. And they was telling me they had to leave a church. And they told me why. And they told me what the pastor was doing. And I knew the pastor that they was talking about. And I know they wasn't lying.
Right.
I know almost all the ministers from down in Suffolk.
Yeah.
They don't care about crime prevention education.
Right.
They are only concerned with getting members into them churches and having them, they hiding under the name Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. You can only hide but so long.
Bingo.
One day you're gonna be exposed.
Bingo.
The exposure they get right now, today, right now with what we talking about, this just the minimum.
Yeah.
You're gonna be exposed. Because there's a lot of them that know about that museum. And they sitting around there and they ain't did one thing to try to connect the population of youth in that city to that museum.
We're gonna have to figure out a way around that. And
I already have, trust me.
And
but
whatever
everything take time.
Absolutely, and whatever I can do to help you, you know what I mean, figure that thing out, because that's where I'm at now. It's like, okay, I've gone to this level, I've gone to this level. Okay, so so I need to go. I can't go through the front. I got to go through the back.
Right.
So
but
you know,
got
whatever
kids
we can.
Coming from like our one of our people in our class that went to high school with us, Adley. You remember Adley? Adley Spratley? You remember Adley? She went to school with us. Okay, so Adley, she connected this group from Newport News to the museum that came there recently. It was a group of youth. Some of them was involved in gangs and things like that. But they came over, and big props to Adley for that. They came to that museum. And when them youth left out of there, every last one of them had change on their mind. Like, no, I got to do better. Am I lying?
That feels good.
Every last one of them had change on their mind. What can I do to change my condition?
How do we?
And if they was affected by it like
so
that,
good.
if they was,
I said that's so good.
I'm telling
Change
you,
on their mind.
they had
That's all
change
you want.
on their mind.
Yes.
Change. I must change. I can't let my life go down this pipeline of destruction.
Yes.
And they not the first group that I've seen it done to. So for these people to try to act like they don't see it when I know you see it, it's just these people out here don't know you see it. Because if you're a leader of a society and the society people are not very intelligent enough to know what they can do to keep their child from developing this mindset. And you know what they can do and you don't do it, you don't advocate them to that lane, you're a part of the problem.
Yep.
You're dealing a disservice to that community.
Correct.
And that's why this is the minimum.
Yep.
And I'm telling y'all ministers, I'm going to put you on blast if you think you're going to keep ignoring what's going on. The time is coming. I'm not going to let you get away with it. I ain't calling your names out right now, but eventually I'm going to call your names out. And it's people listening.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them that know, and every time they see me, you this, you that. But they not doing nothing to get them children rotated through that museum. And I'm not going to stand back and let them do it for so long. I might be dealing with my own trial and errors right now, and I ain't got time to get to you, but your day coming. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They coming. And I'm telling, and I'm speaking about this stuff because I want you to know there's a challenge to you exposing that to them youth. Because now you'll get the credibility for that. And a lot of people don't want you to have the credibility. They want the credibility for stuff you done wrote. And if they can't say, I was part of that, they don't just want to be part of it. See, we need people that just want to be part of the
That's
solution.
it. But
not people that want to say they did it.
They were the solution.
They were the solution. We need people that want to be part of the solution.
I think that's why we're here.
That's why we here.
I think that's why I ran into you on. I know after we had our meeting, I was like, okay, it's good to have a brother that can, in rooms that I shouldn't be in because it's male dominated, that I can send ahead to speak on behalf of everything that we're trying.
Oh,
to
y'all
implement.
women running things right now. Ain't no room y'all can't go in there. We can't go in
That's
there. Y'all
not
done took
necessarily
over.
so.
We just sitting on the edge of your shoulder.
No.
Like, don't hit her. You hit her, gonna beat you up. Y'all running everything now. Look at Kamala. Y'all, she badder than the white man.
And
the
that's
black
a
man
fact.
come out, they scared. The black man come out, they scared to death. We can see y'all at them all day. They give y'all plenty of avenues. Come on in. They see us. They like lock that door up. But nah, seriously, you're right though.
Yeah.
I say that as a joke,
Yeah.
but you're right.
Yeah.
Like we have to be able to represent one another.
Yeah.
Because that's what's been broken up. Where there's a man to represent that woman,
Yes.
there's a woman to represent that man. They basically dismantle that family structure.
Yes.
That unity has been totally broken apart. That's why I said all man good for now in the household is child support.
Yeah.
But he can't get no support for the child.
Right.
That's a problem. It's because men should be able to get the support just as much as the women get the support.
Absolutely.
But my thing is, even if we're going for right now, if a man filed for custody, it's not taken as serious as it is when a woman filed for custody. I've experienced it. It's taking that. The first thing the God and Enlightened do is call you and they say, who take him to school? Who take him to the doctor? I'm like, ho, back up. It don't matter if they took him to school 50 times and I took him to school 10. If they took him to the doctor 30 times and I took him 15. You can't judge parenting based on that because parenting is a partnership.
Yeah.
Maybe I was at work when they took him to school.
Right.
Maybe I was at work when they took him to the doctor. So they ain't had to work.
Right.
Maybe I was doing what a man's supposed to did. So that a woman don't have to get out there and be subjected to falling short to some boss who just want to get in her pants.
Right.
Maybe I was protecting her from that.
Right.
So guess what? Don't ask me a question like that.
Got it.
Because that is a biased question to a father.
Right.
When you're talking to a father about his need to have communication with his children.
Come on.
And had I listened to that, this is a personal experience. Had I listened to that God and Enlightening, I'd have not seen my child, our children at all. I ain't called her back to this day. And I'm not going to call her. And when I get in front of the judge about that custody hearing, I'm going to let that people know that God and Enlightening did exactly what I just said she did.
Yeah.
And she did some more stuff.
Yeah.
And she did not make contact with me, not once.
Right.
Put making contact with me off several times. At least twice. And waited to, put making contact with me several times.
Are you creating curriculum for fathers?
Yes, I am.
Beautiful.
Yes, I am. Because it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I want to we need to do a co-author curriculum for boys and girls.
Okay.
I was looking for somebody to do that. I was going to do it with one of my staff workers that actually want, and I may still work on some with her too, but I definitely want somebody who liked what they do and love, not only like it, but love what they do.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. I want somebody who love doing this because I know they'll be passionate about it.
Yeah.
They're going to engage it on a level where it's going to be very effective.
Yes.
It's going to be very effective, and you already have experience doing it. And I think I like curriculum writing more than just writing books.
Yeah.
Because writing curriculums, you always have to have a terminal objective.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not a curriculum.
Correct.
With books, most people will read through books and they'll just say, I read the book.
Yeah.
And more books sell from titles than actual content.
Correct.
People buy books for a good title more than they even read books. Like they'll go and buy a book that got a good title and won't even read it. They just buy it because of the title of it.
Well, because it looks good on their coffee table.
Yeah, titles sell.
Yes.
Titles of books sell.
Yeah.
You come up with a good title, it sells. Like it sells quicker than the content in a book.
Yeah.
So it's like it take time. It's like you got to dig out of the concrete to get people to know what content is in the book.
Yeah.
But the title is right on top of the surface.
Well, whatever I can do to help get this out of here, get press out here, because I know that there's a lot of young men that are just really trying to figure out how to get out of their own mindset, out of the generational curses of what's happening around them.
Right.
And we're naturally followers, and unless we pull somebody out that's going to tell us we're a leader, then they want us to think that we are followers more so than leaders. So whatever I can do to help.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, I'm gonna say this before we close though. Okay. I want you to give you an opportunity to actually hold your book up and show the face of the covering of your material to the people, so that they can actually just get a better engagement.
And just really quickly, it's about the book. Shirley and Friends Take the Win is a heartwarming tale of friendship and bravery. When Shirley is nominated for class president, she fears no one will like her. Her friends Donna and Sabrina support her every step of the way, reminding her it's okay to be afraid. With their encouragement, Shirley delivers a fantastic speech and wins the election, proving that friendship can conquer any fear. And so that's really just friendships are important in middle school and all of that. And if I didn't have those two friends, Donna and Sabrina, say you can do anything, we're very impressionable. So even at that age, we get to learn how important it is, how important it is to have good people around us. Because you can either, on a daily basis, you can either go left or right. On a daily basis, you can make the wrong decision that could literally land you in prison. As a 10-year-old, as an 11-year-old, it depends on who you are around.
So I guess this Donna with her red face, she the reddest
that
one out
is
of,
not Donna. That is Donna. Yep.
Donna. Okay.
That's Donna. Yep.
But Donna, I know all on Donna and Sabrina. I know both of you.
Yeah.
y'all better get Shirley big ups too.
I saw Sabrina about 3 weeks ago, and it was really good.
Yeah, she's doing her little business now.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she got
home healthcare business.
Yeah,
is
and
thriving.
She got another shop too.
And
ice
she
cream.
has an ice cream shop.
Ice
Yes,
cream
thriving.
Truck.
Yes, doing really well.
Yeah,
really
I bought some ice cream for my little daughter one day. I saw her. She that's my buddy. All on her and Donna. They were good friends to you. And that's good, man. Cause see, I remember you came from the Nelson Parkway area to school. They came from the downtown Suffolk area.
Correct.
And you was one of the good girls, the more quiet girls.
Yep.
Your father's a lawyer, if I'm correct, right?
Correct.
And so you came from that more suburbs.
Correct.
And they were coming from Donna coming from Hollywood. Sabrina coming from over there near Lake Kennedy area, downtown area too. So yeah, they had a different life than you had. You was out there by the golf course.
Correct.
Yeah, so
but that all goes to show you that none of that stuff matters.
It don't
when it comes to the heart of the matter.
But I'm gonna tell you why I said that in a minute. But go ahead. It don't matter. I'm gonna let you express yourself.
None of that stuff mattered to me because of how they handled me.
Right.
They handled me with care. They handled me like none of that stuff mattered, right? And the people that were not Donna and Sabrina's handled me like that stuff matters. In middle school, I did most of my schoolwork in Principal Darden's office.
Right.
Because why do you talk that way? Why are you wearing hard bottoms to school as an 11-year-old, right?
Right.
But a lot of that was because my stuff was hand-me-downs.
So what?
But because we lived on the golf course, they assumed that there was no real,
struggle.
no real threat.
Struggle. Yeah.
Right? But a lot of that stuff was because my parents were praying people. A lot of that stuff was because my parents were giving to others so God will bless them, right? And so at 11 years old, you can't explain it to an 11-year-old. My parents got this house because they stood out and pleaded the blood of Jesus over this land and asked God to bless them with that. You can't explain that.
Right.
My parents are just now explaining that to me. I didn't know that story.
Right.
It wasn't going back to currency. There was no exchange of money. There was no exchange of money.
Right.
But there was a currency, the seeds that my parents had put into the earth, how they were treating people that were around, praying for other people, dropping meals off, picking people up and taking. That was the currency that got them the things that they had.
Your parents understood a different approach to the return on investment.
Correct.
Same thing I try to tell this rich guy about this museum project. He was like, the return on investment don't seem that great. I was like, the return on the investment on this property will make me more successful than any dollar you can make. He didn't catch it. But you just defined it.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. Them two friends of yours that poured into you,
Yes.
oh, they was some little dressers.
Yes.
They was some little dressers. So them building you up with that confidence and you remembering that. Look at the return on that investment. You put them in your book.
I did.
That's a real return on investment.
Yes. I love them.
Yeah, and that's right. And that love that you got for them is a return on that investment.
Yes.
And I can say you live out there in the suburbs because I remember.
Yeah.
And you know, to us, we coming from the hood.
Mm-hmm.
You was rich to us. Mm-hmm. To us, your parents was rich. Mm-hmm. Like, shoot, that girl got her date. She rich. I know. When I'm sitting in prison, I'm thinking about people like you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know she's somewhere living it up. Mm-hmm. Wish my parents stayed over there. Mm-hmm. And see, a lot of children don't know the sacrifice that it took for those parents that live in those neighborhoods.
Correct.
And they was more concerned about providing a safe environment for their children.
Correct.
Than a pair of Michael Jordans.
Correct. My father was one of 18, and he was the only one that went to college. And that was him sleeping on the back of a pickup truck, making sandwiches and selling sandwiches on his lunch break. He didn't get there by osmosis.
Came up from the bottom.
Got it out of the mud.
Yeah.
My father, they were burning crosses in our front yard because he was helping black voters learn their rights and responsibilities. So we didn't just land there, you know.
Boy, you ain't lying, because in that Nelson Parkway area, they had some racism going on down there. And you ain't, when you say burning crosses, I can remember as a little boy leaving Suffolk, going back to Newport News, coming through Nelson Parkway to get to James River Bridge, where KKK used to block off the streets. When you come down Nelson Parkway, and you know, I woke up one time. I remember waking up and they was in the middle of the street, but they let my mom pass because another car came up, like 3-4 cars came up, and then my mom, they opened up, but they had the streets blocked. They would be burning crosses, wouldn't let you drive through there, all kind of stuff. So yeah, and a lot of people didn't even know that you seen that in high school, and that was only in the 90s. That was in the 90s. Well, even if it wasn't in high school and it was when you were younger, middle school or elementary school, it don't matter. You seen it.
I'll never forget it, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's that stuff where it's hard, you know, storytelling has become a thing of the past. And I know we got to wrap up, but it's hard. It's easier. We need to start telling our stories because they just like you said, from the looks, y'all thought, she's this, she's that.
Yeah, you got it.
She got it.
We liked it, you though.
Yeah.
You was cool. We didn't dislike you.
Oh, okay, because I wasn't sure.
No, we didn't dislike you.
Okay.
Never. I never disliked the Shirley. Okay. That's why I always remember you were cool. Yeah. You think I disliked you in high school?
I didn't.
No, we didn't dislike you. I was pretty mean in high school sometimes, but not to you.
Yeah.
I was mean.
You and I, you know, I wasn't just a part of the in crowd, but nobody. I still felt protected. I still felt like you all wouldn't let anything happen to me.
Right? No. And then my brother, he was so into sports. Like all y'all was cool.
Yes.
I was cool with all my brother friends.
Yes.
Even though I was in my own zone, I was cool with y'all.
Thank you for protecting me.
Yeah, you welcome. And I still protect you to this day.
I already know.
But it's been good having Shirley up here, and I want y'all to support her. You know, order her book. Where can they order your book from?
Amazon. Shirley and Friends Take the Win is on Amazon. It's $15 on Amazon. If you live in Virginia and you want to get an autographed copy, it's $20, and I can meet you anywhere. I'm also having a journal series come out in the school districts called Doing It Afraid, My Journey Towards a More Fearless Life, and we'll also be providing wraparound services to dismantle the school to prison pipeline.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to dismantle that pipeline with all means necessary. And I want y'all to keep in mind that fear is false evidence appearing real. Do it afraid. Peace.
Peace.
Yep.
Welcome to the E-Firm. This museum was crafted to deter humanity from a criminal mind. As you enter the lobby, you experience excellent decor. Next, you enter our courtroom, where we conduct our correcting them straight to her hearing. Every person convicted of a crime will spend time in our cell, sentenced to 1 minute for every year given by our CD coaching group judge. Following their stay in the cell, they will experience visitation by friends and family in the visitation room. Next, your tour officially starts. Get a first-hand look at how prison life is in the yard and learn how using the phone to call loved ones is not so easy. Then visit the falsely accused and learn how slavery impacted the prison system as we know it today. Next, you get a lesson on police brutality, death row, and how women are impacted by prison. Be educated on the voices that spoke out against injustice and take a deep dive into prison life and visits from family. Learn that education does not stop after incarceration and how to get on the life path to turn your life around. At the E-Firm, we believe change starts now. Don't let your loved ones become an American prisoner. Pay for their education now or pay for their lawyers later. Visit us at efirm.org to experience the tour.